This is the Love and Life podcast powered by
Yes.
103.9 WDKX.
WDKX.
We are so
We're
excited to join you all today. And we have an exciting show that's lined up because there is so much going on. So much going on every day. It is something new. And you know how we do.
Yes.
We talk about the things that people don't want to talk about. We shed light on certain things, and we have to talk about what's going on federally.
Oh my God.
And so that's what we're here to talk about today. But before we go there, we definitely want to recap our last show where we talked about where are our girls. And we were talking about a number of young ladies that were missing here in Western New York. And thankful that the marshal's office just did a press conference last week that they found, two girls. One of them were one of the ones from the Rochester area that we talked about. And guess where she was at?
Chicago.
How'd she get to Chicago?
Like that part right there.
With grown men. Right. And so we definitely want to always, that's not the first time we highlighted shows about where our girls and, sex trafficking and what's happening with our young ladies. And so we wanted to highlight that again to just have parents, guardians, please be aware, our young people are not just, many of them are not just walking away. Certain things they're being lured away. They're being convinced that this is the thing for them to do, groomed, all of that. So please be aware of what's happening with the young people. Check their cell phones, check their emails,
tablets. Go in the closet, under the bed, in the drawers. They live in your home. You are their leader and protector and parent. You have a responsibility, a right, and a reason to check up on your children.
Absolutely. So don't be afraid to make sure that you are consciously aware of what's happening with your child and those that you have in your care. And so we're thankful to the U.S. Marshal's Office, for all of our law enforcement, for finding our girls.
Good job. Now, our love lifting segment, I had to, this is the first time this ever happened in my lifetime, where I watched an NFL game Sunday night with my boys, the Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers, and it went into double overtime. And I never seen two teams play so hard like they was playing the Super Bowl. It was a tie. And that's what tripped me out. That's what me either. It went almost to midnight. It was to the point, Lovely, I kid you not, where literally it seemed like both teams just met on the field and just said, "We tired, we quit, everybody go home."
Everybody go home. Are you serious?
It was. They were exhausted, and then it went into double overtime. And I'm thinking, okay, we about to go into triple overtime or whatever, and sudden death. And no, the game was over, and it was declared a tie. And I was like, wow.
You learn something new every day.
Never saw that before.
Never heard of that.
Right. But I said big up to both teams, both coaching staffs, all the players, because they play a heck of a game. Professionals. And it was up to almost midnight before the game was over. And they ended in a tie. I think it's only 30 times that's happened in NFL history or something like that.
Wow.
But it was pretty amazing. And so
kudos to our athletes, know, and our entertainment as most of us are watching and just really, really happy. The Buffalo Bills are 4-0.
Very well.
Is 4-0 or 3-0?
It's 4-0. But here's the thing, though.
Okay.
People say, and we're not trying to jinx our Bills, because I do, even though I'm a Cowboys fan, I always push for the home team. The Bills are the home team. But people say, oh, they always start off well. It's when we get to the end of the season when it's a problem. So we're just hoping that they stay healthy. We're
celebrating every game.
We're gonna celebrate along
excited.
the way. Yeah. I know for all my Bills fans, they'll say that. All the heavy Bills fans be like, let's wait and see how things go.
They out here. Special. They are out here. The fans are excited. And I believe that this is going to be the year we're going all the way.
And then they're moving to the new stadium next year.
Yes.
So that'll be a great way of going into the new stadium as NFL champions
Yes.
Would be really dope.
So we will definitely keep an eye on that for all of our sports fans. It's definitely getting interesting this NFL season. But today, of course, we are really talking about what is going on federally. Last night was a big night, right? So
I don't think people really understand. Last night was big, but I don't understand if they understand how big yesterday was.
Oh yeah. Well. Let's go into. So talk about yesterday, and I'm going to talk about what happened last night.
I want to talk about from my point of view.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
From my point of view, what was really that I think slipped by a lot of people's radar yesterday, that was to me even more scary than the shutdown, is what happened in the military.
Oh, listen.
People really don't understand that move.
You know, so my husband told me that was from a movie.
That move, I didn't know that. That move was so crazy that he would do that in lieu of the shutdown that night, to have that force of power of lining up the military, basically saying, nope, we don't care for women, right? Rolling back all of the DEI and all of the things that they've done in the military, progressing in the military as far as equity stuff, on top of saying, hey, either y'all gonna fall in line as generals, and going from the Department of Defense to the Department of War.
Yes.
Which if there's no more sense of bullying and the stake that they did. So I just want people to be aware of what's going on in our military, especially if you're young. I'm a veteran. I went to the military, and they're talking about going back to the policies of 1990, like the rules of 1990. And that's when I joined. I joined the military in 1990.
We are in an authoritarian government, right? And I think that
absolutely,
pointing that out, it is profound what happened yesterday with the military. And just to provide some context to our viewers, basically the president and the head of the Department of War called together all not some,
every
last one of our military leaders from across the world, not just the United States, from across the world, and called them basically the Quantico, and was like, and had a sit down, right? And the one thing that I thought was interesting, because people have been pointing this out, if you remember when President Biden was leaving office, what he said to the military, right? He said, I want to talk to our military, the men and women and those that are defending our country, to remember their oath to who and to what. He said, remember your oath to the Constitution, because the military pledges their oath, and as you know, as a military guy, to the Constitution of the United States, not to a president,
the chief, the commander. Well, that's not what they laid down yesterday. They laid down the commander. You're gonna be loyal to our commander and our chief, and to the gentleman that I forget his position, right? That was giving the speech and saying, and here's what we're putting down as the law, or you're fired, or you're done, or you're out of here, right? Here's what we're putting down as a law. And I'm just like, I'm sitting there, and now
how do we let that, I'm sitting here bamboozled, I'm like, this can't be freaking real, right? Like, how do we as a country just sit by idly? Like, I'm looking at our congressional folks, I'm looking at our Supreme Court, because we've spoken about this before on 11 Light, about the 3 branches of government. But I mean, as a military guy, a veteran, how did that make you feel?
Especially someone who came from that period of time. When I joined the military in 1990, I was fresh out of high school, and 17 years old, and I went to the Air Force. So, which was a lot different for people of color. Typically, tend to go to the Army, the Marines, and even the Navy. But I was the only African American in my unit. I was the only African American person everywhere I went. Wow. So the amount of racism that I experienced through the military in that time, based on the rules and how they were operating in that time, I wouldn't want that for nobody. So to see how they matured and elevated to equity and more diversity over the years was exciting.
With women, with people of color, people from all walks of life.
Exciting to see that they were, because I know how I was treated. I know some of the things that I had to endure, and I wouldn't want my son as a fireman. He was considering the military at one point, and I thought both of them were good career opportunities for him. But now I would be reluctant as a parent, especially a parent with children of color, to want them to go into this type of environment.
They have to endure
it's a hostile situation.
It's a hostile situation. Yeah. And they're letting people go. And
and they can ruin your life. The military, if they put a dishonorable discharge on you, that's like getting a felony.
Right.
And they have so much power outside of the circular world where, if you get fired from a job, I mean, how much does that really, affect you per se? But the military, because of how
that follows you for life.
Yeah, and the order and the rank and order and the rules that they have through the UCMJ, the Military Code of Justice,
right?
Is
they have
totally
their own military system, right? Their own
judges,
justice system.
Yes,
their own justices, their own lawyers, everything.
It's
separate,
a whole nother world,
and distinct from everything else.
And they control your life,
right?
And it's easy to mess up a young person's life in the military just based on if somebody having authority over them could really do some serious damage.
And on top of that, so we haven't even touched the surface of what happened at that meeting, right?
That's right.
Because there was another part of that meeting that talked about what they're getting ready to do to cities, right? Where basically our military was never used to patrol and to control our own cities domestically, right? The military is for overseas, to protect the United States from foreign intervention, from all that stuff,
or for like support in like Katrina and things. The National Guard will come in and bring those types of support, for natural disasters.
Yeah, but he's talking about like
policing,
like Marines and Army and Air Force, like people that are out there that they would be utilized to police American citizens.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
That this is what we are moving to if you don't fall in line.
Episode 47. What's going on, Federer? We got a lot to cover. We got. I know I put that little monkey wrench in there talking about that, but I think I went past a lot of people's head.
Right.
And they really need to pay attention of the moves that they're. This is chess. Right, it's not checkers.
Yeah.
This guy is making some moves, and he's doing stuff intentionally. And that meeting, to have that meeting prior to this shutdown stuff, was sending a real huge message to the world. Right,
we're 10 months in. We are 10 months in to a 4-year presidency. We have a long way to go.
Right,
and all of the things, when we talk about what's going on federal, we're talking about what's happening with our military, what's happening with our cities, what's happening with all of these executive orders and what they mean to everyday American citizens, what's happening on the Supreme Court level, and how these cases and allowing the president to have this authoritarian sort of government, what's not happening in Congress. It is so much that you just can't keep up. Every day they're throwing something at you. And I want people to know, and I hate to say we told you so. We talked about this during the election, but I just really want people to understand we're 10 months in to a 4-year presidency, and our entire governmental structure is being turned on its head. And today, so last night, midnight, right, was the deadline. Deadline for what you say. So right now, the government is shut down. right?
So did you see Plies? I like Plies. A lot of people know the entertainer rapper Plies came on. He said, listen, he was talking about both sides. He said, look, y'all not trying to fix nothing. He said, because why we go through the whole year and people are just talking about people losing their jobs, people just talking about getting together. He says, it's always a couple of days before the shutdown. Now we go through this whole process. He said, but the reality is, it seems like nobody's really trying. He said, all y'all trying to do is fix your pockets. I said, whoa, right? He was talking like people are getting so upset with government now.
Oh,
on
absolutely.
both sides.
It's voter.
On both sides.
It's voter apathy. Everybody's pointing a finger. So many people, when you think about government shutdown and what it means, right? Economically, that's $400 million a day as the impact, right? Impact on, okay, we'll keep essential services going. However, non-essential services, like when we were in COVID, right? Non-essential services were the things that got shut down, but that impacts everyday Americans, right? And so you have that issue that's being disrupted. You have people that have the potential to be furloughed or laid off or things like that. So federal workers are not getting their paycheck, right? So while there's a shutdown, you have families that may be living from paycheck to paycheck that are not going to be getting their paycheck.
Which is the majority of Americans. The majority of Americans we're all a couple paychecks away from, the soup line. You know what I mean? And so nobody can afford, especially in this climate, when you're going to the grocery store and you haven't even bought meat and you're spending $150, $200, with just cleaning supplies and stuff that, not even bought any food. And you can find yourself spending hundreds of dollars at the grocery store. So these are things and we have to have food, clothing, and shelter, right? Are the basic needs of everybody. So when the cost of everything's going up, and then now we have this shutdown, with not only is it affecting and impacting the essential and or non-essential services, but funding opportunities that typically go to, because normally when people don't have, where do they go? They go to the non-for-profits, they go to the places that typically allow and help them and assist them with the basic needs of life.
Right.
Now, when you're going to, I tried to get a grant from the federal government to provide services to underserved community. And I got a call from them, basically a local representative saying, hey, I'm sorry, we can't offer any funding because our funding's been cut. We don't have what we used to have, or we can't provide these programs no more. So now people who may have been receiving help from those essential or non-essential services, now they go to other people who have historically helped them. And then now they're saying, we can't help you because that funding also has been removed.
And it's going to get worse, right? Yeah. So when we talked about this before, the big, beautiful bill, right? So all of those things that's coming from that big, beautiful bill hasn't even taken effect yet.
Right.
Right. So, when we think about all of the impact when it comes down to Americans and how they are going to take care of their families, we are in some deep, deep trouble. When we think about the executive orders, we've already ended DEI, right? And so people say, well, what is that?
Right.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. In this military,
they spoke very heavily on that, and with the military piece, they was like the gender neutral stuff and all of these things. He's like, and he was cussing. The guy was like, he was real vulgar about how he was addressing these issues. Like, we not putting up with this BS no more, and F around and find out, if you want it, and all this other. And they were really talking real reckless about these types of issues that people have fought real hard and long to get equity within, our military and in our community, in our country. And now these things are being basically taken away and rolled back and emphasized that they shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting because we have the shutdown of, government that's happening right now, that's affecting so many people. But I must commend, and I think that this is, also love lifting because, also under attack is people's freedom of speech.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so, just 2 weeks ago, right. Jimmy Kimmel Live was Jimmy Kimmel, a national
talk show host,
basically was
making a little in his monologue. He was, really pulling a little plug against
it's freedom of speech, right?
It's
but that's
like
the
our
first.
man says, it's just comedy. Like our man Talent says, right? It's just comedy. So he's doing a comedy spill on what happened, with the gentleman that was murdered. But he wasn't so much talking about his murder as he was just talking about the reaction from the president. And after that, he got canceled.
Right. Like
immediately
shut down. Like, hey, listen. Literally it popped up on everybody's phone at the same time. Jimmy Kimmel Live has been shut down indefinitely for his comments, right?
Wow.
And this is when I say we're in an authoritarian government, right? Because the Constitution says what? You have freedom of speech. That's the above all things, right? That's the first article. You have freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to be able to say what you need to say. And here you have a talk show host literally being canceled indefinitely for what he allegedly said or how it was interpreted. But remember, back in July, the president had made some comments about this, and he also said that Steve Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, all these people that are against him, that talk about him, that they are going to be dealt with. Well, you say, well, how can you be dealt with in that way? Well, you know what? In order to have a news station, in order to have a new show, in order to basically merge companies and all that type of stuff, you have to get approval. FCC approval, you need approval from other governmental agencies. And so these companies, they need governmental approval. And so they're putting on the pressure in those ways. But let me tell you something. The people said, listen, we ain't having it.
That's right. They rallied not only just the viewers of his show, but you had various entertainers from all walks of life and on all different spectrums of the political views as well that stood up for the right of freedom of speech. Because we look at the people, I think about like Luke from, Two Live Crew. I think about Public Enemy. I think about NWA. I think about some of these people who really fought hard, in their content of their music and their craft to be able to have the freedom to do and say the things that they want to say. And when we're talking about comedy, that's a whole nother animal, because everyone knows that in comedy they get even a lot more sketchy.
Risque.
Yeah, that's just the way that goes. And so to see where we're coming to and what's happening federally and how our world is changing, we have to continue to pay attention. And there is stuff that we can do. Elections matter, and I think this guy is trying to turn us into a country like Russia in just 4 years, when it took Russia probably 50 to 60 years to become that way.
But pay attention, right?
He's trying to do it in 4.
Listen, this happened in Venezuela, right? So what is happening now in the United States, there's a playbook for this. It happened in Venezuela. If our listeners want to do some research on that, go and look at how Venezuela went from being a democratic society now to an authoritarian society. And, based on the military stuff that he did on yesterday, he want to be like North Korea with Kim Jong-un, these types of things. You're seeing this play out. And I agree. We have to stay curious. We have to stay informed. We have to vote. There is an important election coming up next year, right? Right now, the Republicans control the House. They control the Senate. They control the presidency. And frankly, they can control the Supreme Court, right? And so we as citizens and voters have to be consciously aware of what's going on. And if you like it, if you like what's happening, then I'm afraid. right? I'm afraid for my daughter. I'm afraid for the next generation in the world and in the country that she's gonna grow up in, because the values and the freedom and the knowledge and information that I was able to obtain and hear and know, all of it is being changed, right? They're changing the books. They're taking out things from the dictionary, from the encyclopedias, from libraries, from museums. All of these things, they're changing it right before our eyes. And I'm telling you, the world that we know today, I don't know what is going to happen 4 years from now if things don't change. But we have the power.
Well, we're running out of time. We're going to check lovely blood pressure and a little party. We're running out of time, unfortunately. We could go on for days, what's happening, because it's so mind-boggling what's happening. But nonetheless, our hopefully position here is always to try to shine light on these things so that our viewers can pay more attention and hopefully get engaged in what's happening, especially these midterm elections that's coming up. So I would just say, episode 47, again, what's happening federally. We have a great show coming up for you our next time. Stay tuned. And I tell my viewers, as always, as we do, continue to shine your light. Don't let people put a lampshade on your light. Continue to shine, and may God bless you.
Yeah, and I want to let our viewers know you have the power, right? We were the ones to collectively that got Jimmy Kimmel Live back on, that have changed the viewpoints of many of people. People have been standing up across the country. So as we've always told you, continue to stay informed. Do what you need to do as Americans so that our government know that we are not going to sit idly by and allow these things to just go ahead and happen. This is the Love and Light Podcast, powered by 103.9 WDKX.